The real thing for me, it was coming down to the line where I was going to have to make a decision about going back into my job, because I was like, yeah, I'm just not making enough money in private practice. Because a lot of what you're hearing from people is, I want to come back in person. After COVID ended, people wanted to come back in person. And my places that I was advertising mostly were like Psychology Today and my website. And it was like, it would do okay. And then cricket. Like I've had like 8 months of nothing for Psychology Today. Yeah. So I was starting to panic a little bit.
Hi, I'm Kim Tolson and I'm the traveling therapist. It's my passion to teach therapists how to navigate online private practices and multiple income streams so they can travel the world. I'm a digital nomad with a virtual insurance-based private therapy practice and a multi-six-figure coaching business. I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship and developing tools that can help therapists live an adventurous lifestyle. In this podcast, I will discuss my journey as a digital nomad. I'll chat with other traveling therapists and help you navigate the complexities of running an online insurance-based practice. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Traveling Therapist Podcast. Really excited today to have Lindsay Haverslew here with Lindsay Haverslew here with us. Super excited. There's so many cool things in her bio. I just can't wait to get to it all. I hope we can get to it all. It's really awesome. But Lindsay, I always start out and ask, how did you go from being a traditional therapist to a traveling therapist? Oh my gosh, I almost just really love this story. And I get worried that I'm going to go on and on. But so it is really just my dream. Like I have wanted to travel for so many years, and I was held back by a lot of things, a lot of fears. And then, of course, once I became a therapist, I was stuck in this really traditional role. I worked at a clinic. I worked for the government in Canada, a couple different places, and yeah, just like in an office setting, and got really used to my 3 weeks of vacation were my times to travel, and that was it. And so in Canada, you can work with like a bachelor's degree first. So I was a therapist with a bachelor's degree there. And I had decided to do my master's. So I was doing my master's online part-time while working. So I had done a 2-week trip, I think it was, to Colombia. And when I was in Colombia, while I was there, the pandemic hit. My friend and I almost didn't even make it home. We were like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, it's not really serious. We're just gonna chill here, wait for things to pass. And my dad actually would get on the plane. And if I listened to him, like our original flight was canceled, it was not going to happen. So I just got goosebumps. Like, oh my gosh, could you imagine? Yes, it was pretty scary more after the fact, where I realized just how close it was. But anyways, yes, we got back and it was just really sinking in. Travel might not happen for me for a while. I was pretty nervous about it because it had become a pretty big part again. Every year I took my big trip. I'd been to several different places. And yeah, and so anyways, then my master's internship was coming along and I was starting to have to plan for that. And I had played around with the idea for a long time of I would love to do this in another country. When I realized I was going to be trapped in Canada for some time, I was like, I'm going to apply to do my internship in Thailand. I had been in Thailand before. I knew I loved it. It felt so safe. Yeah, so I just I put in a few different applications, and really the first place I talked to was like, yeah, we'd love to have you. So that was quite an experience. Oh my gosh, getting permission to enter the country during a global pandemic was a nightmare. I literally didn't even know up until the day I was leaving if I for sure would get to go, because there was some kind of conditions of entry or something like that thing I had to do. I had to do COVID tests. I had to apply for a work visa. There was all these things, and they basically told me you could be turned away right up until the point that you passed immigration in Thailand. So, oh my God, it was nerve-wracking. And I guess the part that I skipped along the way here was I had just started a tiny private practice just on the side, just an itty-bitty little one, maybe 2 clients a week, that kind of thing. So that was what was going to sustain me while I was doing my internship there. So anyways, I made it. I was good. I had to do 15 days in a hotel in quarantine in Thailand. And then that led to my internship there at a treatment center near Chiang Mai. And I was there for, I think it was 8 months. And then I just stayed another 2 months. I was on an island in the south, just totally in love with it. Gosh, did you go by yourself? Did somebody go with you, or you just? No, I went alone. It was terrifying. That is terrifying. It's so brave and so terrifying to me just to hear it. I couldn't even imagine doing that. And especially during a pandemic. But you had been to Thailand before, so you had at least a little bit of information about what it was like and all of that.
Just a week, and really a lot. Like I went in 2014, just on one of those little or 3 weeks. So yeah, I just had kind of a taste of it. I knew I loved it, but that was about it. And so this was my first really big trip outside of, I think, going places for 3 weeks. Like this was huge.
Oh. So what do you say? Okay, so I know people are listening, especially like people that don't have their master's yet, that need licensing hours. What did you say to the place in Thailand? Hey, I just want to come here and I need you just to sign off on my supervision hours or whatever. And they were like, yeah, that's totally fine. Come in.
Well, I had to do a certain, so yeah, in the practicum now, I can't remember what it was. I want to say it was like 8 hours a week or something, minimum of direct client time. And then doing all the different coursework alongside of it. So yeah, they just had to pair me up with somebody who fit my school's kind of requirements, supervision requirements. And yeah, that part was pretty easy, actually.
That is so cool because people ask me, I get emails all the time about that. Hey, I really just want to start traveling now. I don't want to have to be stuck in the United States, like in a state, in an office, having to do all these hours. Like, how do I navigate that? So I just love hearing stories around that somebody actually did that. It's real cool to me. Okay, so you were there. That's amazing. And you finished it up. Then after you finished it up, you went to another island around the area, just hung out for a little bit. How did the visa work? Different if you're doing like school type stuff versus like a nomad visa or something like that? Or
yeah, so what they did kind of had me on a work visa at that point. Yeah, I was just on this work visa for kind of the duration, and it kind of even extended it a little bit so that I could stay and go down to the south to the islands. And yeah, and then so I just obviously gave that up. And when I left,
I'd love to just book a call with you sometime and just talk about Thailand. It's such a dream of mine, but it makes me nervous. I don't even know why. Just I've never really been to that part of the world. And I just wonder about like internet and all of that. Was it fine?
Totally. Oh my gosh. Internet, I have to say, probably the best country for internet that I've ever been. Like, all I did, and very affordable too, right? Like I got just a local SIM, stuck it in my phone, and I just hotspotted. And it was so incredible. Like, I think I don't know all the terms, but their infrastructure, right, for the cell service and stuff is just amazing. So even I'm on this tiny little island that really nobody's ever heard about. So like it's so far from the main, always get storms and stuff. And I'd just be like, the power would go out all the time. With the SIM card, it was fine. Like I never had to worry about it.
Wow, because you do hear about that rolling blackouts. Even when I was in the Dominican Republic, all of a sudden here comes a rolling blackout. Okay, I don't literally know when it's going to come back on, or do I have to cancel appointments, that sort of thing. So that's a good hack, like a good workaround.
Mexico was like that. I had trouble in Mexico, yeah.
Gosh. Did you do the same thing in Mexico? Just use like a hotspot on your phone and you're okay?
I did have that, but it didn't work as well. So it was a lot more stressful when I was in Mexico looking for places. Like actually my most recent place that I was in Playa del Carmen, they didn't say they had fiber optic, but I suspect maybe it was because it was also some of the best internet that I've ever had. But the few times, I think I was 3 times before that, like terrible.
That's the most stressful thing ever.
It's so stressful. Yes.
Oh my God. Showing up at a place like all happy and excited, and then you go log in and you check for speed tests and it's like nothing. It's like awful. That's just the worst feeling in the whole world. I don't know. To me, that's one of the most stressful parts of the whole thing. Like trying to be digital nomad. It's just terrible.
It really is. And even when you do like your due diligence, like I spend so much time researching, and I'm on Facebook groups like asking about like the Wi-Fi in different areas, and people are giving me tips and hints of things to look for. And even then, like, you can do everything and you still end up in a place like, oh my gosh, this is not going to work.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I can relate. I've had to move. Like, wait, I canceled an Airbnb one time. I was like, this is not going to work. I called Airbnb. I was like, they said high-speed Wi-Fi, you could work in this environment. You can't. I need my money back now. They did give it back to me, but they were like, this really isn't a reason to cancel. And I was like, yes, it is.
It absolutely
it was funny. Okay, so I could just chit-chat all day long, but I do want to talk about what happened next in your life. So you went ahead and finished that up, and then you had a little private practice going, and then where does your story go from there? Because I know you've got other things going on, so I'd love to just talk about that, especially this podcast. We have so many like multi-passionate entrepreneurs that are really trying to have multiple income streams and live that life of freedom, time freedom, client freedom, all that stuff. So I'd love to just talk about your journey after that part.
Yeah, of course. So this is almost where there's a bit of lull for me. Like, I didn't really know what I was going to do. There's like, here I've reached the end of my master's. Like, what am I going to do? And I was really fortunate that I did have a position with a government that was like mine that I could come back to if I wanted. I'd just taken a leave of absence. And they, were really wonderful with me saying, if you want to take another year, you can. And so I'm thinking, great, like I've got the security of my job to go back to if I need it. I'm going to use this time to like really dive into private practice and try to get it going. Because like at this point, I maybe was seeing 6 clients a week. Like I was doing okay enough to stay afloat, but that's it. So in amongst all this, I'm dabbling in travel. I went back to Colombia for a little bit. I went back to Mexico. I'm trying to think of where else that I went. Honestly can't even remember anymore. I've just bopped around all over. No division. Now that I am like, let's go to Vermont or let's go to whatever. Let's go. Wherever I feel called to, exactly. Like everybody, oh, what are your plans? I'm like, I really don't make plans. There's like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna go here next. So like I did England, I did Scotland, I've been like to Amsterdam a little bit. I've been to Thailand so many times within the last few years. But so the real thing for me, it was coming down to the line where I was going to have to make a decision about going back into my job because I was like, yeah, I'm just not making enough money in private practice. Because a lot of what you're hearing from people is, I want to come back in person. After COVID ended, people wanted to come back in person. And really, my places that I was advertising mostly were like Psychology Today and my website. And it was like, it would do okay. And then cricket. Like I've had like 8 months of nothing for Psychology Today. Yeah. So I was starting to panic a little bit. But that's when it came down to, okay, I knew like I was using Instagram, but I wasn't using it as I'd heard other people talk about using it seriously. And I wasn't using it seriously. So I was like, all right, this is it. This is your last chance. You need to like dive in head first in this whole Instagram thing, or you need to go back to your position. So that's what I did. And like, it's been quite a journey, but honestly now, like I haven't even checked, but I think I'm at like 41.7 thousand followers or something like that. I actually checked it before we logged in. I was like, whoa, I've been at like 45,000 maybe or something. Yeah, that's well, I don't know if it's quite that many, but yeah, it's getting there. Yeah. And it grows like quite quickly. And yeah, so that it in itself has been like, probably 98% of our clients come from there. And I say our, because of that, I have now been able to bring on 4 associates into my practice. So I'm here, I was a struggling kind of solo gal, and it just, this time last year, I think I just hired my first one this time last year, but before that it was just me. And so between this time and now, 4 people have come on and things have just blossomed, and it's really exciting. So I'm a believer in social media marketing.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. So when you say associates are, I don't know, like the terms in Canada as well as I do the US, is that pre-license or like after masters before licensure, or just they're all licensed? Yeah, they're independent contractors. I don't know if that'd be the same in the US. Amazing. That is so exciting. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just keep like really using your social media, and as soon as one gets full, you just bring another person in, and you're like slowly or quickly actually scaling your practice up. It sounds
it happened almost the I mean, I was gonna say it happened the opposite, and I don't know if that's what people talk about is manifesting. But one of the things that I was noticing, like when I decided to bring someone else on, I wasn't even full at that point. Like I was getting there-ish, but I wasn't full. My vision or my dream was I wanted to have of this wraparound service where I work with betrayal trauma, and I work almost solely with betrayed partners. And so I wanted somebody else who I could be referring the other half of the partnership to, or somebody else who could work with couples, because working with couples is not my jam. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to bring someone else on. And I was like, maybe I'll have 1 or 2 people for them. I made sure I said to her, this can't be like, you can't have expectations that this is going to be your source of income. I need you to have another job. This is just going to be a little tiny side gig. And yeah, like then we wanted thought about a 3rd person coming on, so we could almost have that whole, the 3 of us, 1 person working with the couple, 1 person working with one half of partnership, and 1 person working with the other half. Wow. But then from there, it was growing so fast. I just kept bringing them on.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Congratulations. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So do you have any strategies for the social media piece? for people that are listening?
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit about even my own Instagram. I cannot get it off the ground. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I have some friends I'm helping too, and I talk about it. It's just like one of those things. It's not working until it does work. I had to be really consistent with it. So I did a lot of research. I get a lot of questions. Have you hired someone to do your social media for you? And I'm like, no, like I do it all myself, and I actually love it. I've almost found it's become a creative outlet for me, which I didn't even realize I was missing until I had it. Yeah, I just did a lot of research, and I also thought about what I like to see as a social media consumer. Like, what am I drawn to? Who are the people that I really like to follow? I think the first thing that I really noticed that helped, and this was something I was resisting for a long time, and I think this is said a lot just in private practice in general, is niche down. And I was really resistant to niching down because I was afraid that would limit me so much. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think that I should do that. And then finally I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try, because I heard some podcast, I wish I could remember which one, but they basically said, if your child has anxiety, but when you get online, what do you look for? Like, you're not picking a generalist, you're picking a specialist in children with anxiety. And I'm like, yeah, that's so true. I want somebody who knows this inside out and backwards. And like, I am really passionate about betrayal trauma from some of my own personal experiences. And I'm a certified sex addiction therapist. I'm a candidate as a certified trauma therapist. Always a mouthful. Yeah. And yeah, so that was like, that's what I'm going to pick as my niche. And so that's what I did. And not only, was niching helpful in that sense, but it actually was easier to create content. Because before that, I was like, I don't really know what to talk about today. It was almost too big and too overwhelming. But when I niched down, it was so much easier for me to think, oh, I should talk about this today. I should talk about this today. So yeah, niching is huge.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I briefly looked at your Instagram before we hopped on, but do you talk about your nomadic lifestyle too in there? Or is it just all about like the work that you do?
I'm really open about it. Yeah, because that was one thing. Like, I'm a believer in, I guess, having your sort of ideal client. Like, I'm gonna provide the best service that I can with somebody who really like resonates with me. Oh, and also I started off initially thinking, should I be like maybe just telling people that I have this lifestyle? But it got really stressful again with Wi-Fi issues and even my background changing. Right? People notice that stuff. Yeah, I did. Right. A lot about it. So I was just like, you know what? This is who I am, and this is what I do, and I find a lot of the clients that want to work with me, I think it's inspirational, and they're just excited, and they and some of them have even started doing it on their own, like the kind of nomadic lifestyle. So yeah, I'm like, if it's not for them, they can find a more traditional therapist that's working in a clinic.
I love that too, especially with your niche too. It's like working with the one that's been betrayed. It's probably, I would have been a lot of talk around, let's start your life over. What do you want to do now? Absolutely. I would imagine it's so inspirational, like solo traveler, other countries, make your practice remote, your job remote or whatever. Like, that's got to be so inspirational to people that have just gone like this serious betrayal. I would imagine like having that self-disclosure is probably super like helpful clinically, I would think. And actually that was what really when I had gone through my own significant betrayal, that was when I went on the trip to Thailand. The first trip that I had done to Thailand was about 2 months after. And it was such a huge piece of my healing and learning that I was capable of doing, because I wasn't traveling because I was too afraid. I didn't think I could do it. Not to be one of those people that's like, I could never do that. I could never fly in a plane alone. I was saying that, I just couldn't even fathom it. And I'm actually terrified of flying. I have real fear of planes, and I fly all the time. I actually prefer flying alone now as opposed to flying less. And I really credit, honestly, going through such a challenging period in my life, the travel piece, for helping me figure out who I am. And so again, that's why I talk about that so much on my social media. I love that. Yeah, that's so cool. And then I did notice on your social media too, you have the whole other side, you have product basically. I don't know if it's a membership or a course or what it is, but I'd love to talk about that too, because as we said, it's nice to have other income coming in where you're not tied to that one-to-one client model. You've got the group practice thing going, and now you've got this other thing going, which is so awesome to me. I'd love to talk about that too, and how you came about that and how that works in your life and all of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I just fairly recently launched an online membership program, like subscription-based for betrayed partners. It's called Solaceekers Collective. And really, it's just meant to be an online community for betrayed partners to come and kind of support one another. So there's 2 tiers. There's just like forum, kind of Facebook style, where they can come and asynchronously, just chat with and support one another. And I'll be on there too, monitoring, and I'll offer some different resources or things like that. And then we have the live support tier where like we're meeting about 3 times a month, a Zoom call. It's just support. That's all we're doing. Now I do some psychoeducation and stuff like that, but it's not group therapy. It's open to anybody. And that came to be because I was just hearing so much from partners that like nobody understands, like nobody in my life understands how I felt too. And I just can't find anyone to talk to that's not giving me unsolicited advice, or kind of, I'm feeling shamed by some of the stuff that's being said. And I wanted to create space. Actually, at this point, it's not like what I'd call a moneymaker, but it's more just like a passion project.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Because I'm sure, I don't know how like licensing and all that works, but like in the US, we can only like even see clients that are in our state of licensure, but yours is just psychotherapy. So doing the coaching psychotherapy model, especially with an Instagram that's like blowing up like yours is, it's just like a perfect container, because you've got your niche client, and then now it's like, now I'm going to offer you this support community. Come on in. It just have it right there for them for support. That's so awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was important to me that it was accessible. That was a big thing too, right? Because even though it doesn't replace therapy, and we're clear about that, this is not meant to be a replacement for therapy. It was still like, just because somebody can't access therapy doesn't mean that they shouldn't be able to access some kind of support. And so that's what I was really hoping it could be.
Oh, I just love that. Cool. So what are you doing now? What are your travel plans? Is it still, I don't know where I'm going to be next week, or how you know,
I was just not really, I guess. I'm actually in England right now. I'm house sitting. I use trusted house sitters. And so I've been, not a lot, like this is really only my second one. My first one was in Canada. And so I in England, what was it? Only a week ago now, I think it was. And so I have this one and a couple other house sitting jobs, I guess you call them, lined up. It's not jobs. Yeah, you don't get paid for it, which I also heard is really important to be clear about it if you're not getting paid for it, because then you can run into visa issues. So I think that's just important for people to know that I've heard about that lately. But yeah, I really like it because there's so many different opportunities all over, mostly Canada, the US, and the UK. There's a few other places that offer like some sitting opportunities. But yes, that's where I am, and I'll be here till about mid-November. And then I don't know where I'll be, because I've got some different possibilities. I was thinking of Thailand again, but I also am just launching a retreat in April in Guatemala. So I've not yet been to Guatemala, so I need to get my butt there and do a bit of a research trip. So I'm thinking of maybe doing that as well.
Oh, that's so cool. So will this be a betrayal trauma type retreat for people that
betrayal healing retreat? I haven't yet come up with a name. This was only again a recent thing. Like I've just got the date secured, still have yet to pay the deposit, but I'm really excited for that. Again, just the travel piece has been so huge in my own healing that it's something that I want to help facilitate for others.
Amazing. Yeah. So actually, let's have you travel. Let's talk about the process and how healing it could be, and let's do a retreat to heal you. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Love that. Nice. There's something else I wanted to ask you about that we were just talking about. Now I can't remember. Oh, it'll come back to me. I'm back. Yeah. I'll be like, shoot, that's what I meant to ask her about. Amazing. You're just doing so many cool things, and what an inspiration. Do you work with other therapists that want help with this stuff, or is it just strictly you're just seeing the betrayal trauma people right now and doing help with product like social media or social media or any kind of coaching for therapists? Just, have you had any? You do?
Yeah, I haven't, but yeah, I mean, it's not an official thing yet either. I'm going to start doing some advertising, but I had so many people, I think this is how a lot of people get into it. A lot of people are like, how do you do it? Can you teach me about like your social media approach? And I'm thinking like, I should just do this, like a little bit of side coaching. So yeah, I mean, I am, like I said, so passionate about it. I have so much fun with it. There's a lot of ways that I could be better at it as well. And for research I've seen, one of my things is the bigger I get, the more shy I get. And so I show my face less on social media, but I know like people love to see, connect you with you that way. And that's how it builds trust. And I definitely encourage people and myself get out there a little bit more. But yeah, I would love to work with other therapists who want some of those tips and tricks on how to grow on their social media, especially because I know as a traveling therapist, it's like, how do we bring people into our practice when we're all virtual, when so many people want in person?
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah. I'm seeing that more and more. Even my own client, are you going to ever be back in Virginia? And I'm like, no, I'm never, ever going to be back. Yeah. You're never going to see me that way.
Yeah, that's one thing I can say for sure.
Yeah, it's just never going to happen. So don't count on it. Yeah. Thank you so much. How do people find you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, my website, my actual business name is Lost and Found Counseling Services. So www.lostandfoundcounseling.com, I think. I can't even remember my own website address. And then just like my Instagram. Yeah, the Trail Charm Therapist is my Instagram name. So most people don't reach out by DM that way.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put it all in the show notes, you guys, if you want to go check her out and get introduced to everything she's got going on. So cool. Thank you, Lindsay, for taking the time to meet with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Kim.
You're welcome. Thank you. That was awesome. Yay. I'm sorry. I almost brought up licensing 5 times. That's all right. Don't talk about it. I'm like, what? Yeah. So that's all right. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's totally fine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Honestly, yeah, this was fun. I was thinking for a while, I needed to dabble in, because I'd been invited onto some podcasts and I was too nervous because a lot of them were more talking. They wanted me on to talk about betrayal trauma. And that feels a lot bit scarier to me. I don't know, because you're seen as the expert or whatever. And I was, yeah, no. But then I was like, I should talk to other therapists. That would be more something I'm comfortable with. So I actually do have another podcast I'm on tomorrow as well. And I just found out, I'm like, oh, this feels a little bit more safer introduction to it.
I totally get it. I hate when I'm the interviewee. I much prefer to be the interviewer. I still get really nervous on other people's podcasts for sure. And you just don't want to say anything that somebody's going to not like. It's a whole thing. So I totally get it. Yeah.
It's so different when on my social media, I have control, right?
Exactly.
Something probably 80 times and edit the crap out of it. But then this, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I say it, it's there forever.
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, I totally get it. Yeah. And if you ever want to come back for new products or anything like that, new place or information you want to share, feel free to reach out and to schedule another time. And yeah, I love that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh. Am I breaking up?
I'm glad I say at the end.
I know. Great. But thank you so much. I do follow you on social media, so I look forward to just seeing how you grow, and congratulations. I think it's awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. You're welcome. And my VA will, basically, with this episode will come out, and then the week after it comes out, my VA will send you links and graphics that are real. And on Instagram, we'll ask you to be a collaborator for the reel. If you'd like to, you could just hit collaboration. It'll just pop it right onto your Instagram, and you could share it that way if you want to. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, great. It sounds good.
Thank you so much for listening to the Traveling Therapist podcast. For show notes, links, and downloads, head over to thetravelingtherapist.com, where you'll be able to learn more about my journey, the courses I've created for you, and other exciting resources to make your dreams become a reality. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your traveling therapist friends, subscribe to the podcast, and if you loved this episode, please leave a review.